always it is the brave ones who die, the soldiers. I hope you will continue to savor the sweetness of your life. Disgust me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trek Cannon. So, today I'm doing a video, finally get a chance to have some time off and sit down with the class, talk to you guys about some things that got to do with Star Trek. And today is going to be the diehard masters, okay? Koloff, Kang, and Kore. Now, first, what is a diehard master? They don't talk about exactly by definition what a diehard master is in canon, but we know that it's a legendary warrior. They are the most legendary, revered, and respected warriors in the Klingon Empire. Now, there are some things that we can infer as far as what qualifies you to be a legendary warrior. Now, we've encountered many legendary warriors in the past when it comes to Klingon and Trek canon, all the way from the great Kahless himself, all the way up through people like Worf and, Gowron. Yes, I said Gowron, all right? All the way to people like Worf, Gowron, Martok, you know, even from, what we would consider great warriors in the movie franchise. People like Kang and you know uh, people like that. I get into that a little bit more a little bit later. Now, so we do know that there are accomplished Klingon warriors all throughout the Klingon Empire and throughout Klingon history, but it's only been three in canon that has ever made the rank of Diehard Master. So we know you got to be a accomplished warrior. You have to be a superb tactician. All right, you have to be able to be an outstanding tactician, man. You gotta have some type of you have from in canon have received the augment virus. People who have watched the Enterprise to know about what the augment virus is, and I put some well, not links, I put images and all that kind of stuff and specific episode titles and episode lists, in a video, like I always do, man, because that's what I do. Now, like I was saying, you have to have had the augment virus, or or be a descendant of the imperial court, or have royal blood within you. Now, there's also one more very important requirement that we've seen in canon that one must have to become a diehard master. And but first, is somebody we got to talk about. So, Captain JTK, Captain James Tiberius Kirk. Now, why do I need to talk about him when it comes to this particular subject? Because you will see, man, just be patient. You'll see, be patient. Now, let's talk about a little bit about the history of Kirk and Starfleet. From the original timeline, from the well, not from the original timeline, prime timeline, but more specifically, the original series when it aired, there was only one Star Trek series, obviously, on television. According to the canon of that series, the Starfleet insignia that you see represented throughout Starfleet nowadays was only held by the crew of the Enterprise. Every other ship, every other starbase had their own insignia. Now, this is something that's verified by anybody who has ever watched the original series. The Starfleet insignia was adopted throughout Starfleet and to represent Starfleet because of how successful Kirk's 5-year mission was, and he wanted to uniform all of Starfleet to represent and showcase that success. All right, now when you start getting into later spin-offs, like for instance Enterprise. Okay, I'm going off topic. That's not what this is about. But Kirk's 5-year mission was so badass that Starfleet adopted his ship's insignia to represent Starfleet. Okay, so what's another thing about Kirk? He does not like Klingons. Why? Because during his time, Klingons were in an active conflict with the Federation, with Starfleet. Now, the thing about that is that Kirk, if you want to think about the requirements of a diehard master, just to be brief, just to be concise, be real brief about how Kirk fits into this. All right, I said one, you got to be an accomplished warrior. Kirk single-handedly defeated a Gorn, all right, which was unheard of. All right, so you know how unheard of that is to defeat a Gorn. All right, Kirk is an accomplished tactician. All right, let's not. You don't even need to talk about his exploits. The carbonite maneuver, for instance. There's so many instances where Kirk used his brain to get out of situations that were seemingly impossible to get out of. Now, if you want to think about his other abilities as far as how they focus on Klingons, there have been very few to none Klingons who have survived open altercation with Kirk. All right, I don't care how bad of a warrior the Klingon is in their own right in the Empire. All right, so some of the people that come to mind would be, Kang, Claw, Maru, Kruge, people like this. All right, even when the Klingons were allies with the Romulans, you have this person who's captain in the flagship of the Enterprise, who's straight stealing cloaking devices from off the Romulan fleet. All right, so when I say his accomplishments as far as engagements with Klingons, he has always been very successful. Now, let's talk about, I talked a little bit about the augment virus. Now, the augment virus was a virus that, well, it became a virus because the Klingons had seen the potential of what the augment did, of what the augment, I guess, genetics did to the humans and how much it improved them. To whereas if a human is able to defeat a Klingon this easily, then we need to develop something for us to whereas we can make those improvements and still be competitive against the humans since we're in battle with them. These things were covered in Enterprise. All right, I think it was Divergence. Now, the thing about that is that it didn't work out too well with the Klingons because Klingons don't have very good geneticists, because they're usually trying to be warriors. Now, it became a virus. Long story short, they lost their ridges. They started to look more human-like. This virus spread. They were able to stop it and revert back to their ridges. Okay, so that explains that. But the thing is that Kirk was able to defeat the best of these augments that they wanted to be like, which was Kone. All right, he was able to defeat the epitome of what they decided to try to steal from the humans to make themselves best. Not only that, he was defeating Klingon augment virus Klingons. He was defeating augmented Klingons from the virus as well. All right, now think about the Kobayashi Maru. At its basis, what's the Kobayashi Maru? A lot of people will say, okay, well, it's a test that's supposed to test how you accept no-win situations, and that's true. But think of it from a Klingon perspective. The Kobayashi Maru was under attack by who? Klingons, and it was designed by Starfleet to be a situation where the Klingons were guaranteed success. All right, even to them. Think of how they must have seen that test. Think of the clout it must have given them that Starfleet would make a test based on an Owen situation on them. All right. Think of how the Klingons must have seen that. All right. And then here it is. You got this person come while you talking smack about, the Starfleet, they tested themselves off a no-win situation based on us, not the Romulans, not nobody else, not based on us. And then you got this Starfleet cadet comes and he beats that test. It don't matter how he did it. He did it. and then he was recognized by Starfleet. He didn't get, he didn't get disciplined or nothing like that. He was recognized by Starfleet as being the only person to defeat a no-win situation involving Klingons. All right, so that's another thing. That's a way that the Klingons probably seen the Kobayashi Maru. Now, if you want to think of something else that you probably didn't know. Kirk defeated an approximation of Emperor Kahless himself from the episode, what was it? The Savage Curtain from the original series. He defeated an approximation of the greatest warrior that the Klingons have ever faced, that has ever been produced by the Klingon Empire, Emperor Kahless himself. And Kirk defeated him in battle, not with ships, hand to hand, and with tactics. All right. So, if you think about these things, the Klingons revere Captain Kirk. He's like the ultimate Starfleet warrior. They even say as much. They even recognize him as the greatest warrior in Starfleet's history. All right. So this is why I always make the joke that if Captain Kirk was alive, there would be no Treaty of Algernon, or there would be no the Kittima Accords. There would be no Organian peace talks. Or Organian treaty. None of that. They would immediately beeline to what Kirk is to face him. Why is that? So let's talk about Kang. OG Kang himself. Now, Kang is played by the actor Michael G. Ansara. And just on a side note, because I am a Babylon 5 avid, fan, there was a techno mage in Babylon 5 that was also one of my favorites. And that's him. Yeah, that's the diehard master right there, Kang. Yeah, you guys probably didn't know that, huh? But anyway, it's going to be several surprises in this video. But let's talk about Kang. Kang was first featured in the episode Day of the Dove. It was an original series episode. He's made other appearances in the Star Trek episodes, for instance, Blood Oath, Flashback from Voyager. Blood Oath, by the way, was from Deep Space Nine, which is a very outstanding episode in its own right. Now, the thing about Kang, notable, a very accomplished diplomat, very accomplished warrior, held the pass at the Korma Pass, Caleb 4, the fight with the albinos. But other than that, the diplomacy, with Dax and everything like that. But other than that, it doesn't really differentiate his accomplishments. His accomplishments doesn't seem as noteworthy as many other Klingons in the Klingon Empire. All right, take General Kang, for instance. What was his name? General Kang. General Chang. Yeah, General Chang. Take General Chang, for instance. All right. General Chang was accomplished as well. He was an accomplished diplomat. Look at how he handled the case against Kirk at the trial at Royal Pente. Okay. He was an accomplished tactician. But there was one thing that he didn't do that these people that I'm about to talk about did. And I'm going to tell you what it is later. Now, like I said, he was in the episodes Day of the Dove, original series episode, Blood Oath, and then Flashback and Voyager. And as far as his, as far as his accomplishments, he's had 2 or 3 that were really noteworthy. All right. I believe he also has a statue in the Halls of Heroes alongside Koloth. Now, speaking of Koloth, let's talk about the man Koloth, Iceman himself. What was it? Dukak or something like that. My Klingon is a little rusty, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. All right, but the Iceman himself, arguably the best hand-to-hand fighter of the 3 diehard masters. Now, he was in the episode The Trouble with Tribbles. And the thing about Koloth is he was in the episode, by the way, Enterprise's Divergence. He was in Blood Oath as well, and he was in Trials and Tribulations, which was a animated series episode. Now, the thing about Koloth is that Koloth was designed originally in the series to be kind of like the anti-Kirk. All right, he was supposed to inhabit all of the attributes, all of the charisma, all of the smarts, all of the banter and everything like that, but just be just as deadly on the battlefield and in confrontation as Kirk was. Now, just so you guys know, Koloth also his that was not as Koloth. It wasn't his first appearance. From Trials and what was it? The Trouble with Tribbles. That wasn't his first episode. You guys will first know him, Trelane, the guy who, according to most Trek fan base inner circles, is fabled to be the first shown adolescent Q in canon. All right, I could go into that, but that'll be a whole nother story all by itself. Nothing like some good hot chocolate. Now, the thing about Koloth is, like I say, he has a statue in the Hall of Heroes. He faced Kirk in an animated series with he was trying to get a golem. Was it a golem? No, it's not a golem. I'm gonna put the name of it right here. But it's a little monster, man, that they would design, that the Klingons genetically engineered to basically rid them of the tribble infestation. They eat tribbles. That's what they do. All right, funky looking things, right? But anyway, he doesn't have also many accomplishments besides the ones with Kolos and Kang that besides with Kang that really stand out, that would qualify him as a legendary, warrior. They did things like, it was at the what was it? Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's talk about the final one, and the one that they really covered most in the series. And this would be Core. Now, the thing about Core is that out of all the three diehard masters, Core to me qualified as the most deadly of them. All right. Now, I know I said Koloth was the best at hand-to-hand combat, but overall, all right, I think that Core was the most deadly in his application of his tactics and of his hand-to-hand abilities. He was deadly with his application in both of them. Now, good old Core was played by John Colicos, the outstanding John Colicos, the treasure that is John Colicos, man. He's the son of Reinar, and he's an ambassador to Vulcan. Now, the thing about Core is that Core, out of the three diehard masters, is the one that actually reigns from the Imperial Court, which they covered in an episode. Not Blood Oath. What was it called? Once More Into the Breach. One of my favorite episodes. Now, sometimes I'm gonna look down at my notes, people, so bear with me, all right, because this was a lot to kind of cover, and I wanted to give it justice. All right, so if you they covered the Imperial Court and the Imperial family in an episode you are cordially invited from Deep Space Nine. So if you guys want to dive a little bit more into what the Klingon Imperial Court and Klingon Imperial family is, watch that episode. And also, you may find that the family isn't as descendant from Kalas as you may think. Now, but the thing is that, speaking of, Core also denied, on the side note, General Martok, he denied him admission into the officer school. And that was one of the reasons why Martok was so pissed off at him, but y'all know how I roll, was so pissed off at him in the episode Once More Into the Breach, which I'm going to cover briefly in this video. Now, one thing about Core is he's had some battles that stand apart from Koloth and Kang. All right. So, for instance, the Clock-de-Kel Brock battle, the battle of the Delta Triangle region, where he faced Kirk. All right, in the episode The Time Trap. All right. So he found and located the Sword of Kalas. All right. Core was just an awesome dude, right? Like, one of the last things that he did, first of all, Koloth and Kang and Core and Jadzia Dax, they all, in this episode, Blood Oath, they made an attempt to go and avenge the death of each one of their sons, except for Jadzia. Curzon didn't have a son. But Koloff, Kang, and Kor, they went to avenge the deaths of their only sons by the albino. And they succeeded in doing that because the four of them was basically able to kill basically everybody in the complex of over 40 people who was waiting on them to get there and had set a trap for them. And they still ended up going in there and avenging their sons. Now, the only two survivors of that particular great battle was Dax and Kor. All right. Now, one of the thing that took out Kor was the episode Once More Into the Breach, where he did the unbelievable thing of engaging 10 Jem'Hadar vessels with one bird of prey in giving the other birds of prey, the other part of the fleet, enough time to escape. And people didn't think it could be done. And they ended up singing a song to him at the end of that episode, which just brings a tear to my eye every time I see that episode. But there was a lot of things that Kor did, that would qualify him as a diehard master in his later age. But before then, there's only one thing that each of these legendary warriors, these diehard masters, have in common. It is one thing that no other Klingon commander or captain or general can say. All right. And it is the one reason why all Klingon warriors will break treaty, break what they doing. I don't care what mission they on, to go and battle Kirk. And the reason is because each one of these three diehard masters have either stalemated or survived an encounter with Captain James T. Kirk, Starfleet's and the Klingon Empire's most respected non-Klingon diehard master. All right, Kirk is the diehard master maker. You need to have Kirk to have a diehard master in canon. All right, I don't care about no literature books that's not part of canon. I don't care about comics that's not part of canon. I'm talking about canon. In canon, the last requirement, I don't care what accomplishments you have. I don't care how great of an ambassador is. I don't care how many people you killed at Tenebra Pass. When they going down the checklist, right, of people that's going to have the title, the honor and privilege of diehard master, legendary, not great, not outstanding, not legendary. The only people that you have to have faced Captain James Tiberius Kirk and survived or stalemated him. Now, Kor, right? What stopped Kirk from killing Kor? All right, what stopped that? It was the Organians, a way more powerful species that no matter how hard Kirk or Kor tried, they wasn't going to be able to continue their battle no more. Stalemate. He survived an actual battle with Kirk and the Enterprise because their fleet was up there fighting the Enterprise as well. Now, that's all you need, diehard master. All right, shortly after that, he was given his own ship. Koloff. All right, Koloff. He faced Kirk twice, one in an animated series and on board the K9 station. All right, each time he stalemated Kirk. All right, and there you go, diehard master. Kirk did not kill you. Or you, wow, you traded insults with Kirk. Like, wow. Then you have Kor. All right, I'm sorry. Then you have Kang, who not only survived an encounter with Kirk, but spent months on a ship on the Enterprise with him and his crew, and Kirk and his crew at deadly, unrelenting, hand-to-hand combat. And the only thing that stopped this was both of y'all had to team up against a greater enemy, the entity that was making them do this. And guess what? You survived, right? So that is the only thing that is the final requirement in canon that will qualify any Klingon warrior who wants to hold the title of diehard master. They have to have fought Kirk. All right. So, but don't get it twisted. The diehard masters are outstanding warriors and tacticians and negotiators and Klingons in their own right. But diehard masters, we survived the fight with Kirk. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Oh, it was something that I had wanted to put in this because if you guys noticed, I opened the video with a saying from Core, and it was from the episode. What was it? Errand of Mercy, I believe it was. And this quote was from Core. It was from Core from his young commander days. Now I'm going to end this video with this, and it's going to be the quote from Core again in the episode Once More Unto the Breach. And I'm going to end the video there. Peace, recycle, and say the wells. You guys be cool.
Savor the fruit of life, my young friends. It has a sweet taste when it is fresh from the vine, but don't live too long. The taste turns bitter after a time.
You know, there's one more thing that I wanted to add, and that was simply this. Star Trek could have went totally different routes in the way they handled the ending of the 3 legendary warriors that became part of canon from the original series. The way they handled Core, for instance, with his deterioration of his mental faculties, they could have went a whole nother route with having him, fade off into obscurity, for instance. But the way that they had these legendary Klingons in their careers in canon was just so awesome, and it equated to the awesome presence and impact that they had throughout the Star Trek history. So I just wanted to add that as a final tidbit for this video. Again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and save the whales. Part 2.